Thanks, Andy, for the introduction, and thanks to the organizers, the Scottish Government, for inviting us to be here today. I'm going to show you another example of innovation that is happening in Scotland. So I'm going to follow on Neil's talk and tell you a bit about this demonstration project called Big Hit that is based in Orkney Islands as well. But first of all, I'd like to give you an introduction, a bit of policy background just to show you how these projects fit with the low-carbon energy strategy in Scotland. So I'll tell you a bit about the use of hydrogen as an energy vector to decarbonize not just electricity, but also heat and transport. And then I'll give you a snapshot and tell you a bit more about this Big Hit project. So Scotland has done very well in decarbonizing the power sector, the electricity sector, by deploying renewables extensively and also a distributed generation, so mainly onshore wind, and now we're looking at marine technologies, as Neil was mentioning, offshore wind as well. So we are at the point where 60% of the electricity demand, as you have heard this morning, comes from renewables. So the point is, where do we go from now? The challenge is heat and its transport. And in Scotland in particular, 77%, I believe, so 3/4 of the final energy use are on heat and transport. So I think for that, we need to start looking at what we call energy vectors. And so we need to start looking at electricity to decarbonize heat and transport. It has been mentioned already. Also biofuels and also hydrogen, which is what I'm going to be talking about. And the optimum solution is probably a combination of all of them, depending on the local conditions and the restrictions that you may have. So just a bit about the energy strategy. The Scottish Government published a draft energy strategy document earlier this year. So just to show you how this connects to this innovation project, the Scottish energy strategy is based on 3 pillars. The first one is basically looking at the whole energy system in an integrated manner. So we're looking at where the energy supplies come from today and where they can come from in the future, but we also need to look at how the energy is used and how we connect those across heat, transport, and power, taking an integrated manner and looking at the synergies between those 3 sectors. And we think that's the way forward to decarbonize the energy system and the way we live, basically. The second pillar is about decarbonizing as well, and it's also about trying to identify business opportunities. So there's a lot of focus on sustainability and climate change. We've heard a lot today. I think we also need to look at things like business creation, socio-economic benefits, and this is also recognized in the energy strategy. And then, last but not least, is about moving from a centralized energy model to a more distributed energy model. And Scotland has been done very well on that as well. We're deploying a lot of distributed generation, as I said. So those 3 objectives are integrated, or we've tried to integrate them into this project that I'm going to be telling you about now. So this is it's a European-funded project. It's co-funded by the Scottish Government and the European Commission. It's an 11 million euro demonstration project trying to show people how you can use hydrogen to decarbonize local heat, transport, and power in Orkney Islands in this case. So we're working with 12 partners across Europe. Half of them are based in Scotland because the project is in Orkney. So we're working closely with the local authority in Orkney, also with EMEC and with the Scottish Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Association and other local partners as well. So I'm going to go quickly through that. I think by now you probably know where Orkney is, most of you. So there are other examples of hydrogen demonstration projects in Scotland and in the UK. This one in particular is about using constrained renewable resources. So those to link with those constraints that Neil was talking about. We're looking at tidal and wind energy that cannot be integrated into the electricity supply in Orkney and converting that into hydrogen for local transport, heat, and power uses. So the project builds upon a previous project that was funded by the Scottish government as well, and it was called Surf and Turf Project. And what we're trying to do now in Orkney is to increase the infrastructure, to enhance that infrastructure, and hopefully we'll be able to deploy more projects around that. So a bit about Orkney. What's interesting from the point of view of deploying these technologies in Orkney, there's several aspects. It's a reasonably remote community, so that's got particularities which are similar to other Nordic and Arctic regions, and they also have a very extremely good renewable resource. The challenge that they have is that it's a group of islands, therefore they have a small interconnection with the UK mainland, but the capacity of renewables, just to give you an idea, is double the capacity of the interconnector. So what's the consequence of that? The consequence of that is what we call curtailment. On average, I think it's about 30% of the annual renewable output has to be wasted, basically, and that implies a significant economic penalty as well, particularly for a community of this size. So we think hydrogen can be a good solution for this situation in particular, and for this location in particular. For other locations, we might be looking at other options. So what are we doing in Orkney? So just to run you through the project a little bit, so we are producing hydrogen on this island from wind and tidal energy through electrolysis. Some of the hydrogen will be used here and here to heat 2 community buildings, and then the rest of it is shipped on ferries to the mainland, to the main town of Kirkwall, where we have installed a combined heat and power system. What it does is to supply auxiliary heat and power for the ferries when they are at the pier, for example, overnight. And then we also deploy in a hydrogen refueling station that can supply fuel to up to 10 vehicles. We are on the deployment phase at the moment. The project started in 2016, so that picture that you see there on your left, those are the trailers that carry hydrogen across islands. And then we've also delivered 5 electric vans that are equipped with a hydrogen range extender, that picture that you can see there on your right. There's also hydrogen being produced already, I think, from tidal and wind electricity. And then I want to highlight also other things that work that we complete in here. We tend to have an excessive focus probably on technology on these demonstration projects, but I think it's very important, and I think Andy has mentioned that as well, to look at the socio-economic benefits. So just to tell you a bit more about that quickly, we also run in a whole work package and a set of activities to try and to develop business models that are tailored to the local constraints and conditions in Orkney, but we're also looking at how we can replicate that to other regions, for example, Nordic and Arctic regions. We think the project is fully replicable, and in fact, we're already engaging with other regions to see if we can replicate this system. And then also we're looking at environmental and societal impacts, like, for example, was the job creation, training development for the local communities, and things like that. And just to finish, I think I'm still on time. Yeah. In terms of dissemination, we are looking at sharing all these results in terms of knowledge, sharing best practices and so forth. But what we're doing is to set up a platform to replicate these results. So we're engaging with other regions. So those who are interested, please come and talk to us. We would be very happy to share results, all the results from our business models and replication models. And in fact, we have a meeting next year in Orkney. That will be in May. We will be launching the project officially. So if you're interested, please come and talk to us. And we'll be happy to see how we can replicate that to other regions. Thank you very much.